Everyone can hear me? All good? So, hi everyone. Just in case you walked in after we started, welcome to the 2025 Lit Crawl. Let's get a round of applause.
Yeah.
For those of you who know because you're part of it, we're going to be doing this all day. For those of you who don't know, we're going to be doing stops all along University. Our next stop is going to be at 11:30 at the courtyard or outside of Starbucks. Then at 1 o'clock, we're going to be at Espresso Art Cafe. At 2:30, we're going to be in the Center for Creative Photography. And then we're going to have late at night, 7:30, Cork and Craft on campus, Lit Crawl After Dark. Go there, get a cocktail, a nightcap while you listen to some really cool stuff. Our next reader is going to have to put this camera down in a second. But that also reminds me, if there's anybody who doesn't feel comfortable being recorded or anything like that, totally let us know. We're happy to just put the camera down and stop the recording for the length of your reading. Because we are recording these and we'll release them to all of you. You guys can have your recording from the entire day. We have a really cool documentary going on here, which I have to thank Maddie and Brent for helping us out with that. So let's get them around. And speaking of Maddie, Maddie's gonna be our next reader. Maddie is in my class this semester. I'm really psyched. Maddie, what are you reading?
I'm reading a poem.
You're reading poetry?
Yeah.
I try as best I can as a fiction professor to try and convince them to just write fiction, but I just gotta go with what Popular Man says. So, all right. Let's go. Let's hear some poetry from Maddie Words.
I'm Maddie, and this is a poem I wrote for my introduction to poetry last semester. I have it memorized, hopefully. So it's called Dad, comma. So I guess I'll just start. Sorry, I get a bit nervous. Okay. Okay, sorry, I get nervous. Okay. Dad, this is the American dream. He kept money on a tight leash, policing every corner of this town, his mother in a drought, buying, scratching, losing, repeating, hoping a lottery ticket would be her way out. This is the American dream. He was a money fiend by the age 14, reading books about stock and trade, praying a 401k would make his problems go away. This is the American dream, 23, homeless, on his own, hopeless, living in the back of his car, bankrupt, he was not far. One day he applied to a bank and Uncle Sam dragged him by his feet, screaming, this is the American dream. He worked until work became foreign, until black hairs faded to gray, until August bled into May. He succeeded in the American dream, making hundreds and thousands a week, no need to keep money on a tight leash as it came in infinitely. This is the American dream, 55, fighting to survive, stress compressed over time, children hollow to the soul, empty soccer games, we can spend alone, art projects never should. Layers of unresolved tragedies blanketed in a lot of cash. Dad, is this the American dream?
Woo! Part of nonfiction, advanced nonfiction class, and it's part of a series for a book I'm working on called On Dogs on TV. So this is part 2. If you want to hear part 1, stay tuned because I just sent the book to the printer and I think it's done. Okay. So this is called Bar and Grill Part 2, Real Good. And let me know if you can't hear me and I'll adjust.
You have to hold the mic really close to your mouth.
Check. There was a dive bar on Alvernon and 22nd that went through several unfortunate reimaginings. When my wife and I moved here in 2006, it was The Greens Bar and Grill, the name clearly inspired by its proximity to the golf course and public park across the street. The shabby brick and concrete building was painted white and green. On the side facing the busy street were 4 trapezoidal panels covering up previous windows. Sunlight doesn't sell booze. The 4 panels formed natural canvases upon which a proprietor could market their establishment. The Greens chose logos of a few of our local teams: University of Arizona Wildcats, Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Colorado Rockies, our short-lived spring training team. On the north-facing wall in an alley was the understated doorway. Again, no windows. To the left of the entrance was a stenciled mural of an angry face of a werewolf. Not a sports team. A golden age of cinema, Lon Chaney Wolfman. His mouth was open, wide, as if to swallow patrons whole like sticks of pepperoni. Around 2011, the bar was rebranded and given probably the worst name for a bar in the history of names for bars and grills. Hangovers Bar and Grill. With the name change came fresh paint, migraine-inducing white with a stripe of stop sign red and accents of yellow. Its sports teams were updated too, D-backs and the Phoenix Suns. Replacing the Wolfman, but continuing the theme of canine on consumer consumption, was a howling Arizona Coyote, hockey. Hangovers lasted less than 2 years. Around 2015, the bar reopened with a facelift. This time, it was Bananas Bar and Grill. Bananas! The sign seemed to shout every time we drove by. Like a 1920s comic strip. The rebrand, as you might have predicted, came with a paint job and a vision. This time, the color scheme was pale yellow and muted orange. The Wolfman was exchanged for a cartoon Banana Man wearing wraparound shades and a visor. Golfer? The sports logos were replaced with more family-friendly murals of 4 window boxes with flowers and foliage. Above the hand-painted text proclaimed, "Sports pool tables, patio dining room, daily specials, great food!" Exclamation point. Sadly, only 2 months later, decisions were made again. Banana Guy had to go. They painted over him with the same orange. They also edited the signage above the floral panels. The text now read, "Pool tables, patio, specials, great." Instead of words in perfect symmetrical alignment, they now wove drunkenly from bottom to top, bottom to top. Had they attracted the wrong crowd? I can only imagine the first month of business as they were flooded with parents from the park across the street, their kids ODing on birthday cake, jumping Castle Burns weeping, pink and angry, a sunburned dad shouting over the bar, "We need some protein, stat!" No, Bananas Bar and Grill was not a family-friendly restaurant. No food, no cartoons. Bananas Bar and Grill did not last, and in the summer of 2017, the cheery yellow was painted white and the sign came down. Not to be outdone, in the worst possible bar names ever category, a new owner changed the business name for a 4th time, and quite possibly doomed himself before the grand opening. Ralph's Bar and Grill opened somewhere around the spring of 2018. The only exterior decoration that they added was a sign which featured the name, Ralph's. It was underlined with a thick red line. After the name was a poorly drawn brown beer bottle tilted at a slight angle. Then, Bar, N, the letter, Grill. In red, each line stepping down like the kind of surprise staircases that send barflies to urgent care. The handmade text was all caps in a stencil typeface that gave the gun-packing military sports band vibes. Definitely not the place for Banana Man. Only a year later, the building was for sale again. A crisp red, blue, and white realty sign in front seemed to mock the Ralph sign, which now hung half off like a poorly cut fingernail, catching on the telephone wires running in from the street. The building sat empty, unused except by taggers and junkies. You can see one in the alley in the Google Maps, September 2022. Driving by on our way to get groceries at Fry's, my wife and I would forget to look and report back on the latest name change. Then in 2023, the building was painted a fresh white. Here we go, I thought. What are they going to put in next? It took a year of renovations. They were really going to town on the place. The panels came down and the sunlight went in. They added green paint, a throwback to the original. In May of 2024, I get a Facebook message from my wife. "I'm thinking about the Real Good Brunch Company, coming soon to Hangover/Bananas. And while it does not end the sketchy bar, it does end the sketchy bar area. It does not end the tradition of suspiciously on-the-nose names for that location." Smiley face. And so, Brimming with pent-up curiosity, one Sunday morning we packed into the family into the car and headed out for brunch. Now it's spotless, with fresh concrete patio, a fence, and lots of freshly wiped glass windows. Professional signage advertises breakfast, brunch, lunch. Was it real good? I'll let you be the judge. Our family has differing opinions. My only regret is not taking my kids there when it used to be called Bananas.
Another one of my fiction students this semester who also is just betraying me by reading poetry. But I'm sure it's going to be absolutely excellent because he's an excellent writer. We have Aiden Tucker.
Hi. I'm sorry if I'm a little quiet at times. I'm not good at speaking, but I will try my best. This is a poem dedicated to my autistic as fuck fiance, who couldn't make it here today. This is life. I want to be a mother. I want to make a life. I turn to you, your voice sincere, my only friend, my wife. I graze your flapping hand with my stimming, twitching arm. It's something we've dreamed of, prayed for, planned. When the mind takes to heart a twisted web of voice that whispers in my ear that was never your choice, I know the words still yet to come, they're pressing me to scream. Is it a life you want to make, or someone else's dream? Don't get me wrong, I crave to hold a child of my own, to see the parts of me and you, my eyes, your lips, your tone. Please don't make me spell it out, how all our dreams will come to pass off more as nightmare when our shared curse is done. A curse, I should remind you, that will not just be our own. Want to see the life we've made, then meet our suffering's clone. 1 year old, he can't hold. 1 year old, he can't handhold hugs, and he can't handle touch, hugs, or handholds. 2 years old, and he's mute forever, or so we're told. Now he's 3, still struggling to let words free, yet on his way to memorizing baby's first dictionary. And he's 4, says I'm ravenous, while others beg, want more. But lame and skinny baby lives a magnet to the floor. Still growing, he's a runner, our angel's wings are free, until he, age 5, is made a whore to gravity. 6, enter Juan, his very first friend, yet we're nervous. He has Juan, while most others have 10. 7, 8, 9, his grades start to soar. He's 10, and he's thrilled to move on to something more. 11, he's still pacing, debating Chaucer with Juan. Then he's told he's moving up a grade, and his Juan friend is gone. 12, he isn't talking. 13, locks himself away. 14, and he's scared to make eye contact with anyone but me. She's most of us we are. We draw our eyes across the page of a poor young boy with a knife for a toy who wrote his fears as rage. You rush out to grab the phone as I read the diary again. His latest bully's name was sullied across the page in red. It's not until I rush to school to save the bully's health that the cops come by. A boy has died. The bully was himself. And here the question resurrects from pre-parental fears. How long do we lie to him, shielded from the tears? No, don't cry. There's an end to all pain. You'll see when you're older, no more wounds to sustain. You won't be a whore to the bullies or a whore to the hours. You won't be a slave to the pills, the therapy. The powers that will be yours. No stereotypes protest. And retard is just a fancy word that knows that you're the best. You are the best. Maybe others struggle to see you. You don't. You may not always get the job, and love's no guarantee. You don't always learn fast enough. don't make enough money, but boy, I'll always be there for you because you're everything to me. How can we tell him he's going to succeed, then throw him to the wolves fed by ignorance and greed? Those who pity him and play him and tell him he's fake. Those who see his oddity like oil from a snake. We sell him off with lies and tales of how our stories end, when we ourselves are not to death, while we choose to pretend. Is this a cycle we perpetuate with our selfish goals, or are we simply led by the lies we were once told? You really believe that we can be something we're not? You and me, mom and dad, baby and yacht. This isn't a fairy tale, it's barely life. It's just not meant to be, and this dream of ours is not a game, it's a looping tragedy. Maybe I'm a pessimist, but we share our life of strife. But is it a life? Life is for the human, for the normal, for the just quirky enough to not be boring and just dull enough to not seem freaks. Life is made by a God, infallible until he's not, with his glue and in his will to ignore the cracks that he is too perfect to make. Life is the passion of its creator, made and formed by a higher hand, not mutations and genetics, mismatched genomes, and missing building blocks in the walls of our brains. We are not creator, we are not God, we're not even human. Go back to sleep.
Short piece that I don't think I've read, right? I don't think I've seen this one, called Seeing Ghosts. And I know it's going to be a treat because everything Vivian writes is awesome. So welcome, Vivian.
So, hi everyone. My piece is called Seeing Ghosts, and it's inspired by the cemetery in my grandma's little town up in Utah. Ghosts live in cemeteries. That's what Alva always told me. And now I'm here and it's dark and I wish I was someplace else. But she dared me to come, Alva did, and I'm stupid enough to follow through with it. The big gate at the entrance, the one they drive through at funerals, isn't locked. I push it open and I walk down the thin gravel road between the graves. I've been here before. I know it's here. But never at night, not when everything is black shadow and silence. I know where Alva wanted me to go. She said to head up the hill, sit on the iron bench where the cemetery ends and the trees begin, and wait until midnight. I'm not going to. There's a fresh grave up there, one I don't want to see right now. A little ways up from the road, there's a pair of wooden headstones grown over with something too green for Utah. You can see most of the cemetery from there if you ever want to. I yank up a sagebrush sprout next to the headstone on the right and sit down cross-legged in the bare patch of ground it leaves. Midnight is half an hour away. I'll wait that long. Alva had a funny sense of humor. I bet she's laughing her head off at me right now, and I'm not sure if I'm angry at her, if I even should be. The cemetery is cold and I shiver. I brought a jacket, but it's not enough by a long shot. And Alva's stories, the ones she liked to tell me when I was little and it was dark and she knew I wouldn't get a wink of sleep all night, ghosts like the cold. It's what keeps them from coming into our houses at night and eating little children, according to her. And of course she turned the heat off later that night. The funny thing is, Alva likes cemeteries. She'd come up here pretty much every year at Veterans Day with my grandma to clean graves. They'd hoe up all the weeds and sagebrush, then put up American flags for everyone who'd served. I never went. I'm not sure you can blame me. I shift around, pulling the jacket even tighter around my shoulders, and stare up at the night sky. The moon's shifted down halfway to the horizon. My eyes try to drift to my watch, but I pull my jacket sleeve down. I don't want to know. Absently, I tug up another sagebrush sprout and begin shedding the leaves between my fingers. It smells like the flats where we'd go rock hunting in the summers, Alva and my cousins and me. For a second I forget where I am, forget the black shadows of tombstones surrounding me, and the knot in my stomach loosens. It was Alva who taught me to spot petrified wood. I'd ask her over and over if the rock I held was anything special, and she'd squint at it and say, maybe. The memory makes my throat hurt. All around me, the silence of the cemetery stretches unbroken. I've pulled up every sagebrush in reach before I shove up my jacket sleeve and look down at my watch dial. 2 a.m. 2 hours passed when Alva told me to be here. I stare at the graves around me, made gray by moonlight, and nothing moves. I blink a couple times, hard. My throat hurts almost too much to speak. Alva, you plan to show up? The cemetery is silent as it's been since I got here. I look at Alva's grave up on the hill.
This is great. This is our first stop. This is a great way to kick off the day. Do Tom Market a solid for being really great and hosting us, and grab a pastry on your way out. Definitely patronize their business instead of just coming and hanging out. We have a good half an hour before we start our next reading, so we're gonna head over there. We're gonna set up around like 20 after, and then kick off the next one at 11:30 sharp. So yeah, just follow us in a big crowd for the rest of the day. It's gonna be super fun. Hopefully you brought flasks with you. I don't think that there is they sell booze this early in the morning. All right, let's head on over whenever you guys are done with your stuff.
Hi everyone. Welcome to stop number 2 at the 2025 second annual Lit Crawl. Please, let's get a round of applause for stop number 2. Kendall and I are very excited that we have such an enthusiastic writing community and arts community here at the U of A, coming out and supporting and being audiences for all of our readers, not just the ones that you happen to be reading for. That's always really great. We're trying to do as many of these kinds of community events as possible, and we're really psyched that there are all kinds of arts communities that are popping up all over campus. Recently Creative Writing Club, thank you so much for putting that together. We have Persona Creative, which the reading for is at 2:30 today. We're trying to make sure that we're bringing together all of us very weird people who've decided to make this our interest and our concentration and our career. So thank you for all of that. But let's go ahead and kick off our second stop. And our second stop is going to start off with some nonfiction from Angelica, and it is titled, sorry, I forgot already.
My Love for the Ocean.
My Love for the Ocean. My Love for the Ocean, a nonfiction by Angelica. Give your hands, give up a round of applause for Angelica.
Hello, my name's Angelica. I have a nonfiction personal essay of sorts titled My Love for the Ocean. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, I'm trying to have this really close to my face. Okay. The trenches of the sea run deep, but my love for it runs even deeper. My love for bodies of water started at a young age. As a small child, I grew up by the Gulf of Mexico. I would dip my feet in the ice-cold water and squeal at the shock of it. Some days, I would just lay down with my mother and wiggle my toes in the warm sand. The sound of the waves crashing, people laughing, birds squawking, created a cacophony that was almost soothing. Staring out at the water, I would let my mind wander to tales of pirates and sea monsters. In reality, the scariest thing were these sharks. At least that's what I thought then. The ocean is incredibly scary, and that is mostly because so much of it is unknown. The unknown can be frightening, but also exciting. I was never scared when I sat by the shore. Instead, I was always fascinated. I don't really know why, only that the feeling of the sun on my skin and the sound of the waves crashing spoke to my soul. Many have decided to give up on the mysteries of the ocean. If we're to stop now, then we'll never know the full extent of what the ocean is. And that's the fun of it. We may never know until we try. My thirst for the ocean is very similar to my thirst for knowledge. Maybe that's why I enjoy it so much. Researching things in my spare time used to make my heart soar. Now I only research for school. I used to be so carefree. My love for the ocean swallowed me whole. I haven't felt that way in so long. I ache to feel the joy of having a passion. Sometimes I think that I can have that again, that I can be happy once more. The ocean gave me something to do. Now I must search for something else. Writing makes me happy most days, but getting critiqued is hard. Reading seems easier since it's not my own work. I enjoy it thoroughly, or I did. I don't have time to read for pleasure anymore. Trying to can be overwhelming at times. Sometimes I wonder if I've given up on the ocean, on myself. I don't swim anymore. I don't randomly fall down the Google rabbit hole of ocean facts. I used to want to be a marine biologist, and before that, I wanted to be a photographic journalist, and all of that was before now. Now I want to be a full-time novelist. Perhaps there's room in my ideas for the ocean. Perhaps I can make room. I've never really thought about it. I don't want to give up on the ocean. My love for the ocean is stronger than my fear for the unknown. If I try, if we try, then we could discover something wonderful, something beyond our wildest imaginations. My life has gone untouched and forgotten for the longest time. I miss it.
Thank you so much, Angelica. I'm Kendall for people that don't know me, and I teach creative writing, teaching 304 this semester, and my next reader is going to be Nietzsche from my 304 class, reading a flash piece. So I'm so excited to hear this, and thank you, Nietzsche.
Hi guys, this is a flash piece I've been working on called, working title, Heather and Ted. Please enjoy. Ted woke up with a headache and tried to remember what he ate for dinner the night before. His thoughts were slippery, like oily leather belts he had to tie and retie together into knots. He looked over at Heather and saw the oily leather belts beside her in bed. He watched the belts wrap around Heather's naked body, her soft skin squeezed into bulbous, uncomfortable shapes. They strangled her.
Strained her. She moved gently in her sleep. He thought of his life like a big, rotating globe and felt out to touch it. The moment he did, it popped like a pimple. Pus spurt and squirted out onto the fresh sheets, covering his face, covering Heather's face too, who was no longer tied down. The pus was white and soft and thick, like the comforter beside Heather. He blinked, looked back at his girlfriend, and she was free from the restraints and the mucus once again. Ted got up to walk the dog and rehashed old fights in his head. Ted walked around the neighborhood, let the dog take a piss, then headed back. In the bedroom, Heather was awake and curled in the corner of the bed. He knew that she was mad at him for leaving her to wake up alone in bed. They talked about it before. It was inconsiderate for Ted to leave without telling her. It made her feel uncared for and made her feel left out. Ted apologized for not waking up with her, but she was still rolled into herself in the corner. He wanted to apologize for the oily leather belts and the pus, but he didn't think she would like that. He reached out for her, but her body was in pieces. Torso in the bathroom, head in the kitchen, legs in the living room, ass in the bedroom. She was too far away and much too ripped up to feel. Heather didn't want to be acting like this around Ted. She didn't want to be treating him so poorly. She wasn't the kind of person to give someone the silent treatment unless they really deserved it. Anger was a thick coat that she needed to keep zipped tight around her abdomen. She knew Ted wasn't actually sorry for not waking up with her. And she knew this because she knew that he was planning on leaving her soon anyways. And she knew this because she knew that Ted was probably taking the dog out so early to get away from her. And she knew this because she knew that Ted hated her, because she was so easy to hate. She let that resentment sit like soft stones in her belly. She felt bad for Ted, really, because he was miserable with her. And because he probably went on all those walks to pick up women, which made her angry too. He hated her. Everyone in her life had hated her. Ted felt the skin of his fingers twitch between the slight curve of her back. He wished his hands could enter her spine like a 14-gauge needle. Maybe then he could understand. He thought of the oily leather belts again and considered them a metaphor for his entrapment. He felt suffocated. He wanted to get rid of her. No, he didn't. That just made him feel better. Heather stayed still, thinking of Ted flirting with women at the park. She imagined his hatred for her, yellow and sticky as tar encasing his organs. She could see it, the resentment oozing from his pores, sliding down the corners of his mouth like saliva. Ted's fingers, pressed to her spine, jumped backwards as he pulled, and Heather sat up scared. She knew what was happening. She had always known that this was coming. Ted was at the foot of her bed with his arms twirled and his legs extended like he was being dragged up to the sun. His mouth was stretched open, tongue slack and dry. She knew that this would happen. She looked at Ted, his body suspended a few inches above the floor, and she knew what she had to do. Heather got up, careful not to disturb Ted, and made a run for the kitchen. She found a thin and curved knife for deboning fish, then returned to the bedroom. Heather lifted Ted's shirt and found it. She was there, a face pushed against Ted's pale belly.
Heather knew what had happened. She knew that her badness had finally infected him and that there was no saving it. The face slammed harder against his skin, which looked loose and worn out. Then, within the encased flesh of Ted's suspended body, the head moved to the side, making room to stand into a full human shape. Ted's skin, even thinner, stretchier, allowed the human shape to move, still completely encased within his own flesh. It was Heather, the version of Heather that Ted had unknowingly consumed. It was the badness, and it was her. Heather set the knife on the bed and grabbed for her face. She took a pinch of skin from each side of her neck and pulled as hard as she had ever pulled before. At first, her skin wouldn't move, but as she continued, it became easier and easier until a small hole was ripped above her trachea. She continued to pull as the hole grew until it was wider than her neck and flat with her chin. She released her skin and the opening remained. She looked at Ted again and without thinking, plunged the knife into the center of his belly button. It was warm in his stomach with her arm drenched all the way up to the elbow, so she let it wash over her like a shower. And then Heather, the other Heather, climbed out of the wound. Heather looked at herself all naked and slimy like a newborn birthed from the stomach of her boyfriend. She let the other her slip around on the terracotta and hide in a corner out of sight. Then Heather took her clean hand and reached deep within herself, into her throat, but she couldn't find him. Ted was never inside her the way she was inside him, and so she knew that what she had done was right and good. Ted grabbed the few things he wanted to keep in his keys, leaving Heather in the corner of the bed. Thank you.
Really good. Yeah, that was really well read. Okay, I don't know why I'm still holding this, but next we have JJ, also in my 304 class, and I'm so excited to see what JJ is going to read, and I know it will be entertaining. So. Woo!
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. This is called Cheers to You, my dear friend. In the spaces between our shared laughter, echoes of your humor still dance. A melody of smirks and inside jokes only we could ever understand. You with your dad jokes on brand, always a step ahead. A punchline in the making. A master of the bizarre, the weird. A soul that saw the world through a kaleidoscope even though you were colorblind. We laughed until our sides hurt and laughed some more until tears streamed down our faces. And even in the quiet moments, your spirit filled the room with joy. You were the one who made the mundane magical, who could turn the darkest night into day with just a word, a look, a laugh. Our laugh. The one that matched mine beat for beat, and a symphony only we could play. But now the deafening silence lingers, in the place where your laughter used to thrive. I miss the way your laugh would start slow, and then burst forth as if coming from a speaker, chasing away the clouds along with the darkness and gloom. I wish I could reach through time to that moment when the world began. To that moment when the world became too much. To hold your hand and say, I understand, I'll miss you, but at least I know you won't be in pain. But time is a cruel mistress, and all I have now are memories of a friendship that was wild and free, of a bond that death could not sever. So I carry you with me in every joke, in every laugh, in every strange and wonderful moment. I see your face, your smile, your light. You are more than just my friend. You are a part of me, a part that still lives on in every beat of my heart, in every joke that I say. I love you, my kindred spirit, and I will honor your memory with every laugh, with every tear, until we meet again, in a place where the pain has no place. No power, no scars to keep score, and we can laugh together in unison forevermore.
That was absolutely amazing. I didn't realize I was going to be crying this early in the morning. Great job. Okay, we have two more readers. Again, excellent crowd. Our next reader was one of my students last year, and I'm so excited that they're back. I'm really excited to be able to introduce them now. And what are you reading? Are you reading fiction, non-fiction, poetry?
Poetry.
Poetry. Man, I cannot do it. I do my best to just convince them. All right, and reading some poetry for us is Kelowna performer Pitches. We have Hannah.
Okay. Am I being loud enough? Okay, cool. I'm gonna kind of be yelling. I've got a few poems that I'm gonna read. This first one is from a portfolio I did a couple years ago at this point. It's called On the Other Side of Human. On the other side of human. The woman on TV wrings her hands and sighs and tells her daughter she loves a man. She loves him fresh and new, and she doesn't know if it's too soon to say it. The woman on TV looks at me through the screen. The woman on TV explains this new corner of life to me, holds my hand tangled between hers, tells me not to forget. The woman on TV knows what love is made of, sees its gears. The woman on TV lives a life overwhelmingly human. I sit an inch away, trying to grab onto what she shows me, wrap my hands around this RGB demonstration of the building blocks for a gold star light. It slips through my fingers like melting snow. The woman on TV looks straight through me and talks to my back wall. Then I have a poem that I wrote earlier this semester after listening to a podcast about color called Blue Stained. Blue Stained. Your mother holds the memory, not you, of how you drowned by mouthfuls of the tide's wine before she found you in the water. So when she tells you it was only a minute, a moment, a blink, you cannot disprove her words. You cannot be sure of the eternity you drowned for, though that's the space it takes up, the idea, the gap. You cannot pin down the day you acquired blue, nor how long it took to master the art of it, of pointing to it and knowing it was there, and in knowing, making it so. Pay careful attention and you might catch the instant you start wondering, who trimmed the edges of your youth? Who tore down your great white sky? And then I have one last poem that I wrote in a poetry class I'm taking that combines poetry and particle physics, which has been a very interesting experience. It's called Special Relativity. It is said that Judas lived in an ever-crowded vacuum, that he pioneered the technology of overpacking everyone into a photo of joy-drunk bodies. They say that he leaked splendid murals of neons and crosses and whips. They say he coughed up comedy routines in your bathroom sink. They say he might return later and complained that you cleaned them out. He was crowned this dimension's most kinetic lesbian, and then carved the jewels free to scatter across his vending table. They say his holy drag routine featured giant cardboard dicks. They say there are multiverses spawned from the moment of his crashed car and the last place Schrodinger will check for his missing dagger. They say he couldn't walk a block without tripping over someone's reported sex dream. Whenever someone needed an enlightening or a promise or a condom, he'd arrive at the rave with a burst of light and only turn down your cigarette if he remembered his mother. They say he left every interview with brunch plans and a job. There are rumors that the twin he mentioned so fulgently was more than just his shadow or reflection or a 3-course meal in the womb. There are rumors that he spent his final moments in her first. I will watch my parallel shoot off before me, streak across the sky a moment later. No, I will watch the sky streak after him. I will call him when I have something inconsequential to complain about. How does light keep up with him? How does he keep up with light? I will spend my minute, his year, waiting for our intersection, only in the end to discover its impossibility, or inevitability, or constancy. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hannah. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. And now to close us out, right? I guess this is our final. Is that regular? Yeah. To close us out, thank you, Hannah. Love the jacket. And on the subject of clothing, I appreciate that our fauna reader dressed in costume for the reading. So we're going to go ahead and bring up our final reader, who is another one of my current Fiction 304 students, who actually is reading fiction. So I actually feel like, you know, if you can reach one person, that's really all that matters, right? But I'm going to go ahead and bring up our final reader for this particular stop. We have Will.
Greetings, well met, one and all, old friends and new. Thank you for being here, especially those who have traveled far to be with us today. Be welcome, those of you from this surface world and also our new allies from under the waves. Be welcome sailors, pirates, peasants, merchants, visiting royalty, and brethren court. For those who don't know me, these last 11 years I've been known as Elias since joining the crew of the good ship Coral Runner. It is my great honor to be here speaking to you at this celebration of my loyal friend Henry, who for more than 30 years has been closer than a brother to me, and the lovely Nora, now a close and dear friend despite our disastrous first interactions. I'd also like to give special appreciation to King Ormond and Queen Evelyn. Henry and I never really knew our parents, but you've welcomed us into your family with the same love and kindness that you shower on your own children. Now, since this is a wedding and all, I'm certain that the answer to the question on everyone's mind, what do you do with a drunken sailor early in the morning? And when Henry approached me with the kind offering of me being his best man, I was certain he had taken leave of his senses, because our last adventure with a drunken sailor nearly ended in disaster. That was 3 years ago, here in this very city. Coral Runner had made port late the evening before. That was after that incident with the Spanish privateer and large bonus from the Spanish government. So most of the crew was ashore, drinking, wenching, fighting, or trying to do all three at once. However, Henry over there, he doesn't really drink, which is frankly bizarre and seems like a failing for a pirate, but what that meant is that what Henry was doing with a drunken sailor was trying to keep me out of prison and out of trouble. The Mediterranean night, early morning, cool, dawn just barely kissing the sky. We were staggering outside the Brass Monkey Tavern just down the road here. There was a stall selling driftwood carvings, and that is where we first saw her. She was beautiful, ephemeral, ethereal, hair like sunset, eyes the color of the sea. To my eternal shame and in my drunken belligerence, I first made suggestions and then demands of this woman which were not befitting of a gentleman. Her quite spirited and entirely justified suggestions of where I could go and what exactly I could do when I got there possibly could have pushed me to even more intemperate actions had Henry not courageously intervened on her behalf and in her defense. Afterwards, he offered to take her out for supper as payment for the driftwood carving he had broken over my skull. Later on that evening, Henry and Nora met for their first dinner date. And well, y'all guessed where that went to. That night was the happiest I had ever seen Henry in all my years of knowing him. Nora, what can I say? You're beautiful, intelligent, gracious, and kind. I've grown to appreciate your friendship almost as much as I appreciate you convincing your brother not to feed me to his pet kraken. Oh, it was 3 years ago, and I'm sure a few times over the years since. While I'm not proud of my past actions, I am glad that events transpired to mend the rift between you and your family. It really is wonderful to see how happy you are with your family and how happy you are with Henry. I still don't know much about princessing or mermaiding, but I know that you will be successful at whatever it is that you set your mind to. I also know that you had concerns about how Henry would react to you being a mermaid, and I'm sure that you rescuing him from drowning wasn't the gradual and slow introduction that you were planning for revealing such, but I'm here to say that Henry's love for you has never wavered, never faltered, and has only become greater since your first meeting. Please try to keep Henry out of trouble for me, although I suspect that'll be a lot easier without me around. Henry, I've never met someone with a bigger heart. That's a rare thing to find on the high seas and also unexpected in a pirate, but somehow you managed to pull it off. You're courageous, kind, loyal. It really does speak to your honesty that you're finally willing to admit that I am the best man. We've been through a lot, you and I, and it's proud I am that I can call you a friend. Everyone on the ship here, we're, well, sad to see you go, but being ambassador to the merfolk, well, fits you perfectly. It's a great opportunity, and I know you'll do splendidly. There are new adventures on the horizon, journeys for you to places I could no longer follow you. But you and Nora will be the perfect companions for each other. And I know that Nora is the luckiest woman in the world. I mean, she has me as a friend, but she also has you as a husband and as a partner. They said that love between a pirate and a mermaid would never work. But all of us here know that for you two, love will find a wave. To Nora and Henry, bride and groom, may your love for each other be as unchanging as the sea.
Here, here.
You gotta love the full costume, but you also gotta love someone who knows they're gonna be reading to a crowd and then writing something directly for a crowd. It's fantastic. Love it. Let's give a hand for all of our readers for our second. I also feel like, again, like we're sort of doing this to build the arts community and sort of to sort of like cement how great our arts community is. I can't think of like a clearer metaphor for what we have to contend with than the fact that we have both sports and religion like blasting in our ears, and we're trying to make sure that the arts are getting a higher value than the sports and the religion that are being blasted through those ears. And I think that we're winning, right? I mean, this is great. Just at least here. Nowhere else on Earth, but here in this courtyard right now. So, okay, great. So that is going to complete our second reading. Please go up to the people who were reading, let them know how awesome their reading was, compliment them, ask them for more stuff, trade information. Let's keep the community going. Our next stop again is going to be at Espresso Art Cafe, which is just not even a couple blocks, half a block away. So head on over there. It's going to start at 1 o'clock. That'll give us just enough time to be able to catch our breaths, go to the bathroom, go buy something from them, charge the speakers so we can hear everyone, which will be great.
This is a busy day and a busy time of year, and it means a lot to all the writers here to have people here to listen to their work. This is a big deal. Performing your work is not easy, and it's really cool that you get the opportunity to do this. Shout out also to the professors who are here. I saw at least a few of you. Nice work. Special shout out to Kendall and Ted for putting this whole thing together. Here's the order. I'm going to be introducing everyone. Not everyone gave me a bio, and you can guess who did not. So it's going to be first. I'm just going to give you the names so you know when you're reading. It'll be Sorrel, then Bree, then Elliot, Rhiannon, Annabella, and Brisa. So I will give a brief bio because I think you should have a bio. It seems like a thing you should do. So first, going to be reading tonight. Sorrel M. Graduating is a creative writing and gender studies major at UA and is graduating with the class of 2025. He has been writing poetry and fiction for a long time, but this is his first time participating in the Lit Crawl. He hopes you enjoy. Please give a big welcome to Sorrel M.
Yeah, rock and roll. 5 minutes. When I first signed up for this event, the self-page reading was allotted about 5 minutes and had to do a double take. 5 minutes? How many ideas can you fit in one poem in 5 minutes? What do you write about when you have to send a poem in 5 minutes? It's my first time doing poetry reading like this. I came in clueless. So am clueless. I had no idea what I got exactly. Mental health, past events, people, places, things, but I was afraid that what I wanted to say couldn't be condensed into 5 minutes. A complete poem in 5 minutes is not something I have the power to deliver. All I'd like to talk about would take some more time and space and focus and practice, because when I want to say something, everyone I know will tell you that you'll need to give me more than 5 minutes. With an active mind and so little time and so many words and so little space, how does one college kid read a whole poem with a whole meaning in 5 minutes? 5 minutes is too little time, too little rhyme, too little reason, too much constraint, too much restriction, too many goals, and not enough to truly speak. Because what can you say when you want to express what you truly feel in cascading ways? Because you feel inside, but you can't understand what you cram all what you can't understand in 5 minutes. I need it now. I believe that the world is the biggest inspiration I've always had. So it's cool. Just me and my laptop, like I do every week. 7 p.m. on a Saturday night to my usual spot behind the psychology building. Hunker down on the small staircase with my laptop in my lap as a big support. I didn't think much of it. I'd actually forgotten my good earbuds, which is the worst mistake I can make. And in an attempt to avoid overstimulation, I was trying not to think at all. But I realized something. But I was looking at the earbuds, lots of earbuds, things I couldn't hear with the earbuds in. So I decided to test them. I closed my laptop, left my staircase, pulled out my phone, and set a timer for 5 minutes. Then I just walked over some noise sounds. I wrote down everything I could hear, all the sounds for 5 minutes. Want to know what I heard? I heard people yelling and talking, cricket songs somehow in perfect harmony with the wind. The distant traffic was streetcar down 2nd Street, followed the electric lights, a clanking in the distance I couldn't identify. The clap of a skateboard and a bike, the click of my fingernails on my phone screen as I type my notes, the jingle of my keys, the swish of my pants through nearby plants, a clock as I kicked a branch I didn't see, the view of a cat I'd never seen before as it jumped in front of me on the path, and the racing of my own ADHD thoughts. All of that in 5 minutes. And within it all, poetry. A weird sort of poetry. The poetry of all these sounds I don't normally hear, and those sounds that I would never hear in that order, in that volume, in that combination ever again, that made that moment in time so special in those 5 minutes. Those 5 moments all coming together to make one coherent poem that formed the fabric of the evening, that created the world around me, that spoke a million words in 5 minutes. So I had to ask myself again, how does someone like me deliver one complete poem in 5 minutes? I can't. Because poetry is free. Poetry knows no boundary. Poetry does what it wants. Poetry is all about it. You live it, you read it, you see it every day. Because poetry doesn't need a feeling. Poetry just needs life. Because poetry is, but it requires a vessel. That vessel can be anything, anywhere, anyone chooses to preserve its words after they are delivered. Hold on to those moments that fly on. Because every moment is its own poem. Because the world is the only thing that can concoct such a meaning in 5 minutes. Poetry is something that, despite me being a writer, I can't fully understand. A supernatural force that speaks for itself, that doesn't know the complex and post-metric words I can say or put on the page in 5 minutes. I thought I made a dozen mistakes after creating these earbuds, but no, I felt inspired. I felt so inspired that I immediately went back to my staircase and began typing up this very poem. Like the world around me fueled me, chose me as its vessel to preserve that evening and relay its poetry to you, somehow, some way, in the span of 5 minutes. It's an honor. To hear all those sounds and be so prepared that I hammered this out faster than I do most words, because I was the only one who heard that exact poem that the Lord was speaking in those 5 minutes. There's poetry in everything, is what I learned that second. And every moment in time is its own unique poem. We're the ones who make sure those poems are remembered. My time is almost up, but poetry never stops. So as I depart, I'll do something I never do and ask of you this. Go outside, set a timer, 5 minutes, and listen. You'll hear. One complete, unique poem that you'll never hear again. One complete, unique poem in 5 minutes.
Innocent flower, but be the serpent under it. Act 1, Scene 5. Subtext is a subtle snake in the grass. Beneath your words, beneath her words, she slithers. The women before her told her to remain still. You're prettier when you smile. Young girl, bare your fangs and face your fears. For it has always been written in your blood upon the cursed wall. You will scream till your voice is so raw. Cowering beneath the innocent flower, the facade, the flattery, she slithers faded. There is a reason she adorns herself with jewels and crystals, metamorphosis of patterns, textures, colors, and expressions, because she was always taught, reminded repeatedly to be the flower. perfect for the picking, plucked from the patch, pulverized in the palm of the boy. The hound with his tail between his legs. Back away, boy, back away, she slithers forward. Boys will be boys, right? Boys will be boys until you relinquish that pitiful excuse. He snatches that silver chain from around her throat, charmed with womanhood, pocketed to only return the next Sunday with it in hand, an offering of affection. The boy has met his match, but the girl is destined for more than the domestic sphere. Crowned by your borrowed trinkets, beneath the madness, beneath the reprisal, she succumbs. Now there's blood upon the palms of your hands, lady, all for the love of a stupid, cowardly man. Snake. Was it worth it for you? The cost of being queen? And then the second one is called Knowledge of God and Ego, and it's got two different sides, so I'm going to read each side separately and then together. Sundays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, brought up in belief before it was mine, Bible-thumping, backneck kind of indoctrination, on our hands and knees before the Lord. What felt that ache in the rib of Eve, subservient, surpassable by the will of men, inheritor of guilt and shame, wash over the imperfections of my human skin, stained by you, stained by sin, baptized in the holiest of hot tubs, panic clutching their pearls, there I was down on my hands and knees, barely able to suck in breath. It was you who brought this down upon me, dyke and woman alike. Only my sister remained to hear my cries. Exile. Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, like Kinsukuroi, I patched all of her scars. Folks will always tell you who you are, messenger of grace. It's a different type of hymn I sing now for myself, Mary, mother of Jesus, bisexual icon. Feminine rage for those moments of silence who should have been shamed to silence. Author of all things clenching the heart, anatomy of beauty marks and rapture. I'll never believe a lie like that again. A double rainbow at the end of the downpour. I'll start a conversation with her. Why panic? Before I will rise and honor that inner child. What is the breath of autonomy? I'll turn the other cheek if you do the same. It was written in the word. Once more asleep in my sister's bed, like we were children again. Sundays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays. Brought up in belief before it was mine, like Kinsukuroi, I patched all of her scars. Bible-thumping, backneck kind of folk will always tell you who you are. Indoctrination, messenger of grace, on our hands and knees before the Lord. It's a different type of hymn I sing now for what felt that ache in the rib of Eve. Myself, Mary, mother of Jesus, bisexual icon. Subservient, surpassable by the will of feminine rage for the moments of silent men who should have been shamed to silence. Inheritor of guilt and shame, author of all things clenching the heart, wash over the imperfections of my human anatomy of beauty marks and rapture, skin stained by you, stained by sin. I'll never believe a lie like that again. Baptized in the holiest of hot tubs, a double rainbow at the end of the downpour, panic clutching her curls. I'll start a conversation with her. Why panic? There I was down on my hands and knees before I will rise and honor that inner child, barely able to suck in breath. What is the breath of autonomy? It was you who brought this down upon me. I'll turn the other cheek if you do the same. Dyke and woman alike, it was written in the word. Only my sister remained to hear my cries. Once more asleep in my sister's bed, like we were children again.
That is how you do it. Nice job. Good reading, too. It's not like, if you haven't read your work before, it is a skill that you develop. So it's really cool to get the opportunity to work on that here today. So next up, we have Elliot Hagyard, a graduating senior from Tucson who will be sad to leave. He wants you to know that he really hates Andrew Munson, which he would have just put on the TCE, but he chose not to, so thank you for that. He's taken courses in both fiction and nonfiction, so you can't trust him much of what he says. Even so, here is Elliot Hagyard.
Yeah, I have no idea what Andrew's talking about. Yeah, so that volume fine. Yeah.
Yep.
This is a piece of flash fiction. It's called Between Two Sentence Diagrams. My phone buzzed in my pocket as I finished writing the first example on the whiteboard, which read, John slept. I thought I knew what the text would say. I'd been waiting for it, but couldn't look at it immediately. I wasn't sure how I'd react. Some of the kids turned towards the back of the class to face a boy named John. He reminded me of a fly in a bottle hitting the invisible walls around his desk. His hair, which covered his face, was still shifted against him, revealing green eyes that roved around the room, a different shade of green than my sister's. "Pay attention now, please," I said. John didn't seem to notice, but those looking at him turned back. Even as they stuffed their fingers into their mouths and noses, sometimes both at once, their eyes made me uncomfortable. I could still picture the room, even though I was now hundreds of miles away. The fluorescent lights and white walls would feel harsh. Our parents would be sitting next to each other, divided by the arms of their chairs as they embraced. I could feel the plastic digging into Dad's side as he held on. In shows, a nurse's hand would slide across her forehead. When the hand passes, her eyes would be closed. In that moment, like children that haven't yet developed object permanence, they'd see her expression disappear behind the hand and suddenly believe that she is gone. That motion is a sort of ritual, I assume, a way of marking passage. It's always a minor moment in the show. The nurse never hesitates. They never stumble over themselves. Their hand never catches on the skin. They must practice. Are there mannequins made specifically for that purpose? The springs behind their skulls back hooked into their eyelids to add resistance, or do the eyelids move freely? When does the body get stiff? How much do hospitals spend in a year to practice that motion? Or do nurses use each other as dummies? Lying there with a coworker's latex hands dragging across your skin would feel so silly. I can imagine them giggling, feeling the crease in their cheeks as the smile hangs for a moment too long while the outline of their partner's hand extends down their vision. They might stay like that for a moment and appear asleep. I wonder if I had ever seen her asleep. I knew I had, but in that moment I could not picture her sleeping face. I knew when we were young, one Christmas Eve, our parents made us sleep next to each other so they could surprise us in the morning with a dog. It was just a puppy, though it grew big to be big and mean. It was always nice to her, though. As her joints loosened more and more, the two fastened together even more tightly. She and the dog would lay on the couch, fitted together so perfectly that I understood why the dog would growl and approach. But when the animal bit me, our parents put it down. I could picture her face or her hand against the side as it exhaled its slow, final breaths. But that day, when we got the dog, it had snowed, the animal blended into the ground, and I was sure I would never forget a moment from that day, but in the classroom, I could not picture her sleeping face. I knew the individual features and could name them. Sunken cheeks, her brow like mine, overhanging slightly on the right. Eyes reduced to pallid ovals, the halves of which zipped together with lace lashes, like the stitching on a football. She was fragmented like the words in the diagram, but I could no longer recombine these parts into a coherent whole. There was a sharp laugh. The kids had started talking amongst themselves as I stood at the front. "Be quiet," I said, and only added "please" when I saw their faces suddenly tighten. John stared towards the door. I wondered if he might try to run. I turned to face the board and began writing the next example. There was a dim hope inside of me. I wasn't sure, though, what I was hoping for, whether I wanted to continue on or for it to be over. At that moment, though, I could not think, and I was reduced to enumerating my senses. The coal in my hand as I pressed it into the board, the squeak of the dry erase marker. It was still liquid and shining green. I thought I could smell the alcohol from it. The example read, "We are tired but happy campers."
This is time for Rhiannon Murphy, who's a refugee from the Theater Arts program and is now getting her bachelor's in creative writing. Rhiannon Murphy.
Yeah!
Hi. Alright, this one's called The Sculptor and the Serpent. Writing a poem is creating life out of nothing like a god. When God was making man, did he care when the serpents whispered, "It's not very good"? Molding lines into stanzas, I take a putty of language already hard in my hands and try to make stone look like soft flesh. Writing is like sculpting. Writing is like drilling rock. Writing is like I roll the clay between my fingers and I put on the finishing touches as the snake slithers round my heels. It's not very good. These next two I wrote about my wonderful girlfriend, who is my biggest inspiration. A rose from Trader Joe's, pale pink like a 1970s sink. A beautiful bouquet for my sweetie, her big blue eyes like those of a bird named Tweety. Favorite flower of my love, her arms wrapped around my torso, cooing like a dove. Thank you for the flowers, so soft and pink and pretty. Later on tonight, you may nap upon my titty. My heart is layered like the number of pink petals. Her affections are their own reward as I undo her bridles. When we retire to bed this eve, a lover's embrace won't be reprieved. I'll tickle her pink till the sun does rise and go to sleep between her thighs.
Yeah.
love of my life actually came to my planet in late November. Her spaceship landed on my Earth a few months late, and summer breezes had long been replaced by icy cold winds that kissed the tip of my nose. But she was well worth the wait. Blue, blue, electric blue, my eyes were swimming in the blue. We reached out for each other in the midnight darkness. Our fingertips touched, a butterfly landing on a leaf. Then our fingers intertwined, blue, blue, electric blue, her warm palms against mine, our bodies pressed together, warming each other in the frigid blue of winter.
Sometimes rhyme is good. Before we get to Annabella Schneider, I want to just give a shout out to Yvette Sines, who is here, and I'm wearing her shirt because she finished her book, her MFA thesis today, which is really excellent. So give a round of applause. I hear she's a good teacher too. But next, Annabella Schneider. Is Annabella here? I just want to make sure. Well, I'm going to introduce you, and if you're not here, I'll move on to our last reader. Annabella Schneider is a question mark wrapped inside an enigma with a hula hoop around it and maybe some Christmas lights. They did not send me a bio in case it is not obvious, so I'm just guessing. I could be wrong. Give it up, question mark, for Annabella Schneider. No? Okay. Well, continue giving it up for Lisa Mihano,
It's your pseudonym.
founder and the president of the Creative Writing Club, and a general badass. I would say, behold the glory of Lisa Mihano.
Hi everyone, I'm Teresa. Nice to meet you. This piece I'm reading is flash fiction, an imitation of Tori Jensen's From the Hilltop. Maybe if I didn't insist on sitting with her, if I hadn't extended my hand to hers, if I didn't look at her when I laughed, maybe if I'd been funnier, more interesting, rather than so reserved. If I'd thought more, then thought of more, because stupidly sweet Gatorade before each game was left sealed beside her duffel, saying thanks through the teeth. If Emily hadn't been my best friend, if I hadn't thought of her so, if I didn't match my hair to hers, or the same bright blue colored polo, matching through the uniforms, even wearing the same black Converse. If Emily had confessed to me, or at least Maya, I had a feeling. If only she was honest with herself back then. If only Maya would tell the whole truth, or plan to hang out like she said she would. If I hadn't envied Maya at first glance, if I hadn't waited for Emily to come back around, if I hadn't waited for Emily to tie her shoes as friends kept walking to lunch, if I hadn't missed her from across the courtyard, if I'd never started smoking with Ben, or if I did kiss him by the refrigerator because I was bored, if his sister didn't walk in with her arms crossed and her glare of light reflecting off her glasses, if I hadn't rushed out the door or if Ben chased after me, if we hadn't been 17. It was his big sister's room that he stole the weed from, a single cart and a half-empty bag of Sour Patch edibles, because his sister hid it in her sock drawer. Light shone on it from the blinds, the hot Arizona sun creeping in, because 7:47 each morning was the perfect time to cough smoke out the window. Furthest parking space in the school lot, the one next to the baluete, full bloom, with yellow flowers falling in the wind like rain, because Emily had wandered off with Maya again. Each day, I'd go from slamming the driver's door to crying in the bathroom stall. I still waited for Emily to tie her shoes because Maya kept walking. I smiled to myself, tripping on my own happy laces. She was mine this time. As much mine as she could be. Because a part of her, if not all, would be occupied by Maya. I couldn't blame her. The way her red hair flew effortlessly with each gust of wind. Or that contagious smile she sported walking from class to class, passing friends with a loving sweep of her hand. She would lean back in her seat in math class, brushing her hair out of her face with her slender fingers. Emily wandered off again, but this time it wasn't with Maya, and it definitely wasn't with me. Maya would look up from her skirt
started with a soft smile and moved her desk next to mine. I'd like to kick her under the desk. How could I ever hated such a beautiful creature?
And that is the end of our regularly scheduled programming for this event. You are now 60% through with the lip crawl. There are 2 more events. There's 2:30 at the Center for Creative Photography, and then the evening event. So thank you all. Thank you, Espresso Art. Yeah.
My family's from. And it goes like this. They won't tell me what goes on behind the door. If you knew how much it hurt to turn your wrist, you wouldn't. So for a long time, I don't. I just watch the door, know it's there. But one day, while I'm dusting the mantelpiece, the door speaks to me. This is very unnerving. Things that close aren't supposed to open. But I can go both ways, you know. The door is closed and it opens. This is very unnerving, because I have to imagine the other side. The opener that closes. This is very unnerving, so I don't open the door.
Okay, now the event, I think, really is over.
Open mic. Anybody
Go ahead.
Hi everyone. I'm Ted McLoof. I am the advisor for Persona. I was honored enough to be asked at the beginning of the year to take over advising duties, and what an awesome time it's been. If you are just joining us, this is stop number 4 on the Lit Crawl, the 2025 second annual Lit Crawl. Let's get a round of applause for our Lit Crawl. We've had just an amazing turnout at each one of our stops, and the crowd just keeps growing, just more and more. So we're really psyched for this particular reading because it is our Persona reading. We have, of course, the cover of the latest issue projected right behind my head. The staff of the Persona has worked incredibly hard this entire year to try to both rebuild and rebrand and expand and just sort of just throw together from just spitting shoelaces whatever they could, which I'm so impressed with what they've done. So again, I've really been honored to be asked to be the advisor for Persona this year. We have a really cool lineup. All of our readers at this particular stop have been published in this particular issue of Persona. If you don't have one yet, all of the newest issues and back issues are all at the table right there. As you walk in, you can grab one. As you walk out, if you have the most recent issue, cool. If you have back issues, you can get those too. We're turning off the lights. I really like this. This is setting the mood. So I'm just here to sort of kick off the whole entire event, but our super amazing editors-in-chief, Alex and Reese, are going to be sort of trading off. The three of us are going to do sort of a round table of introductions for all of our readers today. And so I have little else to say besides, if you feel uncomfortable being recorded, we have a camera back there that's recording sort of the entire day of the Lit Crawl. If anyone feels uncomfortable, make sure that you come up and let us know, and we'll make sure that we hit pause on that, or whether we edit you out. But your reading is incredibly cool, so it would be great to share with the world. And if you don't yet, follow us at UA Lit Crawl on Instagram. That's where you can get all of the pictures and videos and mentions and all that kind of stuff from the day, and of course all of the updates for what we're going to be doing in the next year. But that said, I've been talking way too long. It's time to hand it off over to Reese. You're going to start? Okay, I'm going to hand it off to Reese to introduce our first reader. So let's give a round of applause for Reese.
Hi guys, thank you so much for being here. I'm glad I could make it. I came straight from work, as you can see. But yeah, as Ted said, we are Persona Creative Magazine. We're the undergraduate magazine here at the U of A, and we're super happy to have you all with us today. My name's Reese Coos. I don't know if I said that, but yeah. All right, so getting things started, we would like to invite Isaiah up to you.
piece I'll be reading is called Nudge. If you want to open up in your copy, it's page 3 and 4. He can't take his eyes off of her. The way she smiles, knowing she's loved by someone who swears to the best of his abilities that he will be there no matter what. That brings a smile to his face, knowing someone could be so happy, because he's unsure if he ever will be. She's ushered away, and will waltz by a man he'd rather not know the name of, but unfortunately does. Then he steps away. The air isn't cold when he stands out there. It never is, but he raises his head to the sky and rubs his hands together like it is. He looks out from the balcony view of the private suite of a college football stadium that has been retrofitted for a mixer. The city, when he's almost loved all his life, stares back at him, and through the gust of winds and the occasional echo of a beeping car, asks if he'll stay. No, probably not, he whispers to the city. You're so used to stepping away, the city replies, through the cooing of pigeons and muffled voices of the mixer. And I haven't been able to step away from this yet. These days, there's almost nothing to his voice. You don't have to leave, the city pleads, through the smell of remnant petrichor from the evening rains now just past. A response doesn't come to him. Instead, he looks back towards the suite. So many people that he's met but never learned the names of. A woman with red hair that falls just above her shoulders is talking with a friend of his, a too flirty man. They're more friends with each other than either are to him. The girl, from the start of all this, breaks from the dancing crowd and looks out toward the balcony, spotting the man. The city nudges him through the gentle breeze at the back of his neck. He smiles at the girl. She pushes through the door and steps onto the balcony. He looks back to the city for just a moment, and he steps away.
Hi guys, it's Alex Caslemon. I know I have a weird last name. I'm the other editor-in-chief, and I'm delighted to introduce Kate Larson as our second reader, if they're here.
Hi. My poem is called At the Memorial to Giuseppe Garibaldi. It's on page 35. It's a short poem, and it definitely needs some context, so I'm gonna introduce you guys a bit to who Giuseppe Garibaldi is and the museum exhibition that this poem is about. So Giuseppe Garibaldi was an Italian patriot and soldier of the Risorgimento, which in Italy, this was like the movement to unify all of Italy. So while he was alive, Italy was like not all one. That makes sense. But he was a Republican who, through his conquest of Sicily and Naples with his guerrilla red shirts, contributed to the achievement of Italian unification under the Royal House of Savoy. So this poem was about an exhibit in a museum called the Museum of the Roman Republic in Memorial to Giuseppe Garibaldi. It's in Rome. I had the privilege of visiting last year, and it's all the uniforms of like him and his guerrilla red shirt soldiers all just lined up on the wall, and it was really interesting and evocative to me, and I ended up writing about how it made me feel. So yeah. Red coats march along the museum walls, caps at their sides, as if, even without bodies to fill them, these wrinkled uniforms are still guerrilla soldiers at attention some 200 years later. And there, to the left, their leader's attire, knobby walking stick pressed to the chest of a worn brown coat. Strange how that faded red stain on the left pocket could so easily be Kool-Aid on one of your dad's old college button-downs, thrown deep in the back of some closet or costume chest. But instead, it is property of a war museum, threaded with the history of a revolutionary who could have told you the names of each man these encased coats belonged to, or spoken fondly of the mothers who sewed each one by hand.
Thank you so much. I really
wouldn't even have thought to do this. I think it's such a good idea to tell everyone what page your piece is on so that people can read along. That's great. Thank you so much. We're going to bring up our next reader, who happens to be a student in my current 304 class. I'm really excited to let you know that her last name is spelled Murphy without an E. That's a really important thing that we all know, because it was a mistake on the flyer, but it's not a mistake in Persona, because Persona, they know how to edit and copy edit, so way to go. So give it up for Megan Murphy.
Thank you for the clarification on that. So I have 2 poems to read for you today, and they both are by happenstance very Irish-centered. The first one I'm reading is on page 17 and 18. It's called Nursing the Silence, and there's a little epigraph at the beginning, and it says, in Irish, the letter combinations GH, DH, and FH are silent. And then it has the names Fionnuala, Pádraig, and Bjorn. Names are truth made of sound. In Irish, the GH is silent in Fionnuala. Fionnuala, a name half whispered amid sweet sunrises and fair hair. Friends calling Fionnuala. We are wild, nature-born souls, Fionnuala. Tongues cut at birth, but silent only when we have to be. We do not have to be, but you choose to be, if only you could be. Fair Nuala, if that still is your name without its invisible letters. Together we chugged blood wine, Maudry tearing through foreign words with our ancient teeth. You were the 3-step melody skipping along my tongue. In Irish, your second syllable demands attention. Fionnuala. It comes alive again in your ancient sound. We flew together in the spring, unmarked by the jealousy that cursed your feathered namesake. We reclaimed ourselves and understood each other without the words overlapping. You and I, Fionnuala, nursing the silence come morning. Names are truth, Fionnuala, telling stories in their sound. I say your name, Finn, like the pale scars littering your hands. Ula, where your dark hair brushes skin. Fionnuala, I wish we changed seasons like the hard smack and softer roll in Pádraig. I wish you could recognize the sweet white space in Bjorn, instead of waiting to see the letters rearranged or explained. As seasons change, I want the world to chant and revel in silence. So when the world fails you in English, I will call you in Irish, your truest name, Fionnuala, like prayer. And then my second one, page 15. This one is actually in response to another poem, Sidna is Wounded and Confesses by Sean Hewitt. There's a great article about it on the On Being Project, and there's a narrated version by Pádraig O'Tuma in Poetry Unbound podcast. The gist of it is that it's based on an old Irish myth about a king who insults a saint and is cursed to wander the wilderness with madness. The original poem is about him confessing and coming back to live with people, but there's a small indication at the end that maybe he would rather still live in the wilderness. So this is a response to that. It's called, Is It So Tragic to Live? Is it so tragic to live away from sorrow? If you must ask, you seek home at the bottom of the lake, that garden below where priests partake in ancient beauty, eating from the bright shores. But you, unsaintly, I could drag you down. Intertwined in the water, we would be equals where eyes don't know light could be the sun-dappled leaves on the fruit tree. I will absolve us both of every sorrow. You weren't designed for this, the demand's great on your lungs, but would you really find life tragic in this inhuman city without churches? If for a moment you felt nature's burn fill your lungs, weightless, worry pulled from you like watercress.
All right, thank you so much to all of our readers. Thank you to all of our authors, artists for submitting this year. It was our honor to be able to review your work and publish it. Thank you to all of you guys, all of our readers, for showing up here, for supporting undergraduate creative work. This really could not happen without you. It sounds corny, but it really couldn't. And really quick, before we head to our next stop, if you could turn to the last page of the magazine there, you'll see a contributors page, and I just wanted to give all of our staff one more shout out because this magazine is a beautiful edition. It's amazing that we were able to pull something like this together, and everyone that you see listed on that page put in hours and hours of work for the fall and spring semesters to bring you the product that is in front of you now. And I'm so grateful that we had all of their help and that we were able to bring this all to. Really cool as like the editor-in-chief, I've been reading all of your pieces like on paper and just seeing your names written on a spreadsheet for months, and it's really cool to finally hear them read aloud. Anyway, moving right along to our next reader, I'd like to invite Mary Evans up.
Hi, I'm Mary Evans. My poem is on page 7. I'll be reading 3 of them. This one's title is Sourhide. Years piled onto themselves, as fresh lemons bury the rotten, where we roamed with no purpose, between the walled streets and citrus grown and felt and built up a rotten nest of sour yellow. Still we climbed white stucco barriers, monkey gripping, branches snapping under our weight, though we were feather light, using each other as footholds and lifts, willingly and with gumption, reaching for the fruit, soaking up most greedily the sun. The transfiguring transfiguring those rays into neon refract. Getting down is more dangerous than the rise, especially when bubbling with excitement to taste sticky sunshine. So slip-ups adjusted into intentional vaults, madly gunning for the ground, bouncing between palisade and stick as though we were no more than placid rubber. We found the floor with blood and bruise, hardly feeling a sting. Clutched within our jaws was lemon hide, sharing the strange and acrid marrow, watching whose face would turn versus who would grit their teeth unchanged. Thank you. The second poem is on page 29. This one is titled Alien. Lake Powell borders Utah and Arizona. The horizon borders those gnoled, barren hills of Mars. Here, he writes poetry about the different personas of God. A spider, he says, weaves his own bars, remaining nourished even in a self-made cage. I don't know spiders, but I know my brother finds missing links in chains complete. Stages of his life rotate, tragedy, comedy, repeat. Grows number, year by year, on the shores of alien waters he watches and writes. Words become bars and cages and chains when always in sight. Forget the causes. I've seen my older brother doubled over from hunger pains, his eyes clouded dark with swarms of flies. Woke from coma, he wages against self-made cages, innocent crimes against himself. I'm proud of him. He says, when spiders starve, they blame no one else. Thank you. The last poem that I'll be reading is on page 31. It's titled, This Isn't About the Cancer. Mom asks Dad, who is shackled by a heavy blanket keeping the humid cold of our living room turned hospital from his fragile, half-emaciated, half-swollen and bulging body kept stationary lest the constant stretching pain of tumor turn shooting unbearable pulse. Have you done this just to punish me? And Dad mandatorily deflects, with something shifting in his sickly eyes dulled and numbed by pain and painkillers, encourages her to ask firmly again, have you done this just to punish me? With the voice she uses to discipline her children, and he fits the role so perfectly when the guilty tears pour down his pale face and the corners of his mouth tucked down into exaggerated frown, he admits with broken shame, yes.
Thank you so much, Brad. That was great. Okay, our next reader is going to be another student from one of my 304 classes, and again, one of the few students who is actually reading fiction today, which is really great. I love that. I love when I steal you away from poetry. Just very quickly, I think that this next story is officially called They're Gonna Eat Us, but I think that anyone who's in that class still just knows it as Fish Girl Story. So come on up, Winter.
Hello. So we're going to be reading an excerpt from page 21, where the story begins. It's just a short bit, since I don't have time to read it all. Breathe in, and breathe out. Salt water burns your throat as it bubbles up from your lungs and begins to pool inside your mouth, some of it forcing its way out of your lips and onto your clothing in your attempt to make yourself swallow. You're only half successful as you sputter and cough up the brine, desperately trying to apologize to the nurse whose hand and stethoscope are now left dripping from the water. It's all right, don't worry about it, the nurse replies, despite the color of annoyance becoming clear in her voice and the way her face twists in distaste as she crosses the room to find a paper towel. You fix your eyes on the tiled floor of the doctor's office, your own surging embarrassment threatening to collapse your whole body inwards like a dying star. The last few droplets of water fall from your lips and down onto your sweater. The nurse asks you the questions as you sit there. It's all the usual suspects. You're here seeking medication. Yes. Where are your parents? At work. Are your parents aware you scheduled this appointment? Yes. The fact you didn't exactly tell them the reason you're sick. By the end, she holds out a clipboard and pen for you, as you try not to look in the mirror behind her. You just hope Dr. Cordina will get here soon. The door clicks shut and the nurse leaves. Now it's just you, the clipboard, the mirror, and the figure that sits inside of it. It almost looks like you, the girl in the mirror. It's wearing your now drenched school clothes, but its hair is thinner than you remember. The jaw looks malformed, almost bestial with teeth that protrude from it. At least your eyes still seem human. You started coming to Dr. Cordina's office for that reason. You're turning into a fish, and it's killing you. It didn't all start at once. Things had already felt off for years, but you only really noticed when scales started showing up on your arms. Since then, things have only gotten worse. Your hair that your friends used to braid has started to recede and thin. More scales have sprouted on your chin and cheeks where you can't hide them anymore. And now some of your front teeth have fallen out, sharp ivory spears pushing through the bloody gums to take their place. Your mother tells you how she likes them, how all of it really suits you. But no one's braided your hair in years, and you've accidentally slashed your tongue twice in the last 4 hours. The compliments are a part of the therapy your parents put you in when you told them. Neither of them ever turned into fish. Most people don't. It's hard for them to understand. The therapy is meant to help you accept the process of pisciation into your heart. Let go of your human feelings and become what you really are, a fish. It hasn't gone well, and you feel nauseous every time one of them calls your scales fantastic. The part they hide is that lots of people don't live through it. Most don't, if the rumors you've heard are right. You've met kids who've accepted the transformation, and they disappear until you find them bobbing on the surface the next day. You try to push those memories out of your head and focus on the clipboard. At the top is scrawled your name, Alice. Then follows question after question about your mental state that you have to lie on, or else they won't believe that you're of sound mind to get the medication. To get the anti-piscis medication. The only thing that'll stop imitation. Lastly, one answer box remains. Species. You mark human. When the door finally opens again, you can hear the tapping sound of talons on tile as Dr. Cordina enters the room. The starling in a small doctor's coat flares up onto the nearby stool, adjusting a pair of glasses on the bridge of her beak with her wing. Well, Miss Alice, it's good to see you again, she chirps in her usual cheery tone. Even when the worst topics come up, she tries to be cheery, or at least reassuring. It's comforting that even others have changed how they address you. Dr. Cordina seems to act the same as when you met her. You can see nerves dancing behind her dark eyes, though. Something's wrong today. Hey, Doc. You begin to smile in greeting. Is everything all right? It should be. So, you're looking for anti-piscis medication, right? The doctor is cut off as the door opens again. The sound of more claws back onto the tile floor, heavier than the last pair. 3 vultures begin to stalk into the room. The sickly sweet smell of carrion clinging to them and their knickknacks they carry. Sorry for the trouble, folks, the brassy voice of the lead vulture interrupts. There isn't going to be any medication given up today.
Our next reader is Sierra Seaman.
I'm very excited to be a part of this. I didn't have much to submit, but I'm happy that I did. So this is called Leaning In. New words spill from my mouth, from your tongue. The start of us together is now shaping like a plant leaning toward the sun. Fear, the protector, spreads and shouts at the most loving parts of you. Fear has learned his nose, and now I unlearn for you.
Thank you so much. Right to the point. Wow, the battery. Okay, our next reader. I'm happy to say this is always really fun. I had our next reader actually in one of my freshman comp classes, rather than one of my creative writing classes, and I'm really psyched to be able to introduce our next reader to our audience. So come on up, Ethan Knut.
Thanks for the introduction. Like Ted said, I was in one of his freshman reading classes. I actually have no background in creative writing or anything in the humanities. I'm going to be graduating this like in 10 days with 2 hard science degrees. But I enjoy stringing words together, and I believe in the power of a story, and that's exactly what the purpose of my very short poem today is. It's on page 11. It's called Rapture. I ran home from your apartment. It was December, 2:30 in the morning, and the cloudless desert sky had long since let out any heat from the Earth's surface. You know the story. We'd spent the night at Jay's and talked endlessly about nothing I can remember now, but it was everything to us then, and that's all that matters. We sat by the door, cupping the candles on the table, you losing track of time, and me, the direction of our conversation as I studied how the red and blue neon signs saturated everything around us. How do you use the word rapture? Can it be more than a feeling? Can it be this place with you and I? Can it be something to hold on to, a memory to cherish? We can talk for hours or not at all. We've been doing this 4 years now. And always, it ends with you trying to call my ride back. And always, I'll say no and just run home.
And for our final reader is Skylar Markham.
Alrighty. I think it's on page 36. I believe. It's called Ringing the Bell. I walk into Knight's parlor. He roughs me, gives me a do like a drunk hairdresser, rubs cold hands down my arms like a sleazy one, pronouncing me done. But it's time to light up, so I forgive him. Me and the hairdresser, we bond over a stick of ground flour, even if he finds it funny to blow out my flame. We rejoice in the smoky clouds like close friends, watch the cars roll by with fire eyes. Say it smells like rain. Say I felt a sprinkle. Say I'd like to turn up that truck's music. Say I'm hungry. Say I'm so hungry, I'd like a storm, but the clouds play chicken. Inside is so quiet, I didn't eat all day. Say there's another sprinkle. Your hair looks good like this. Say the clouds sure are bright. You ever tire of the wind, of only hearing it? Say it's coming down now. Say I'd like to get wet. Say we kick up pebbles, sit on the curb. Don't you think we needed this? Say goddamn, we needed this. Don't you hate it when rain drops on your scalp and slides down your face? Don't you love it?
Say, stick out your tongue. Can't you taste that light? Say we make a meal of the night. Say we go separate ways.
I hope you will stay with us next year. I am graduating, but it's been my honor to work with Persona. You can follow us at UA Persona on Instagram. We'll post regular updates there going into next year. And there's also a QR code on that final page to our website if you want more information as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Reese. Yeah, something that I know that we had mentioned at last week's reading, at last week's collaboration with Sonora Review. We were really excited to get, I think that we had expected maybe 3 or 4 people to kind of come to our first meeting this year, and we were really excited to have a big, gigantic group show up on the first day. And so I think probably an important thing to throw out to everybody, if you're not on the Persona staff and you're interested in being on the Persona staff, come and talk to our editors-in-chief, come and talk to all the people who have been on the staff, and let us know if you want to be part of our staff next year. There's always room for more. We're trying to grow and expand and really kind of expand our reach. So definitely come and talk to us and let us know of your interest. Again, we're trying to, as best we can, to establish, a community of the arts in general. Do a lot of cross-referencing of things like screenwriting, poetry, visual art, photography, fiction, nonfiction, all that kind of stuff across the entire campus. Huh? Film. I said screenwriting.
We have film in the magazine.
Yeah, I said screenwriting. That's like good. So please, come and talk to us. We would love to have an even bigger crowd than our giant crowd that we had last year at our first meeting. So come on up and talk to us. We'd love to get some applications. You can get credit for being part of our staff. And the other thing I want to say is we have one last stop. As Reese said, it's in a few hours. So if you need a break, if you've been following us the entire day and you need to go pee or have dinner or whatever, definitely now would be the time, because our last stop is not for another few hours. It's not until 7:30 this evening. But it's going to be at Cork and Craft in the Student Union. So come on out and join us for that. It'll be a nice way to sort of cap off the day. It's going to be a beautiful evening. It'll be definitely nice to be out on that patio. So come on out and join us, and we'd love to see you there. Again, you can follow us at UA Lit Crawl on Instagram. That's where you can see all the pictures and videos and all that kind of stuff from today. We're doing plenty of cross-referencing with Persona and with the Creative Writing Club, and just come on out and let us know if you're interested. And as is always the case, all the readers, fantastic job. Go up and tell them how much you love their stuff. Go up and mingle. We ended super early, so you have all the time in the world to just hang out and read the magazine and talk to each other. So thank you guys so much. Hi everyone. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Just before we get started, I want to say this is the last stop on our lit crawl. It's been such a cool day. We've started at 10:30 in the morning. By the time this is done, this is going to be about 10 hours long. So give it up for yourselves if you've gone to a whole bunch of these the entire day. Let's get a round of applause for all the people who have done this so far. Also want to give a quick shout out to all of the places that have hosted us the entire day, including Time Market, which they were angry that we had too many people show up, which is just the best problem in the world to have. And we were in the courtyard by Starbucks. Espresso Art, I cannot thank enough. They were so awesome and so supportive. The Center for Creative Photography has beautiful space for our Persona reading. And Cork and Craft, thank them. They're awesome. Please make sure tip your waiters and waitresses. This is great. I also want to absolutely thank our faculty who are here today. It's always great for the students to know the faculty support them. So thank you to Steph, to Sarah, to Bojan, to Marie. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Give them a round of applause as well. Thank you. Okay, so that said, we're going to go ahead and get started with our final reading of the day.
Kendall's going to be doing most of the emceeing and the introduction of all of the readers. I'll just remind everybody one last time that you can follow us on UA Lit Crawl on Instagram if you want to see all the pictures and the videos from the entire day today. That said, if you're the kind of person who feels uncomfortable with your picture being taken or us recording your work, totally cool. Just let us know before you come up and we'll make sure that we edit that out. But that's it. That's where you can find us. So definitely go to UA Lit Crawl on Instagram. That's where you can see all the really cool stuff we've been doing all day. And we'll continue to post stuff there. I hope that we keep on doing this kind of stuff all throughout the next year. It's really, really great to build this kind of community. So thank you all for following us the entire day. I'll shut up now because the most important thing is the student voices. So, Kelly, you want to come on up and introduce our first reader? Yeah.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you so much for all the work you did on this event. And thank you to everybody for coming. So glad to see so many people here. Our first reader is Chris, who was in my English 404 class about a year ago, I think, right, Chris? Does that sound about right? And I do remember how entertaining Chris's stories always were, and they always made us laugh. And Chris has told me that this reading he's going to do isn't really fitting into any particular genre. We should keep an open mind, so it's not necessarily fiction or non-fiction, or movie. So I'm very excited. All right, thank you, Chris.
I struggled to pick between fiction and nonfiction, so I figured the solution to that would just be to not clarify if my piece is fiction or nonfiction, so I can hit both of them. And also maybe for legal reasons. This is called Bench Seat Confessional. It came from a prompt I had in a class with Andrew Motson. The prompt was revenge stories. So. I grew up in a small town in southern Arizona, mostly made up of military members, Border Patrol agents, and Raytheon employees. All of the other people that live there own or work at businesses like grocery stores, restaurants, and gyms, so the first group of people have something to do when they get off of work and someplace to buy things in bulk on the weekends. Everyone is fairly well off and comfortable. That's my hometown. And plenty of other people's too, even if they aren't from the same one as me. So you can imagine the kind of people that went to my high school. Their parents were engineers, aircraft mechanics, and federal law enforcement officers. Or they worked at a business in town. Most of us lived in suburbs of little stucco boxes crammed so close together that you could hear your neighbor's landline ring. No one owned a horse. We were far from country, and the only thing Western about us was our location relative to Destin, Florida, the other nesting ground for snowbirds. So we chose skate shoes and graphic tees over traditional cowboy or country wear. We were suburban teenagers. Except for one group of boys that were a year younger than me, juniors, and had decided our town was to be the epicenter of the New South, and they were to be the harbingers, a Western South or something. They'd walk around school in a group, plaid snap-button shirts, dirty jeans, boots, and patchy reddish-blonde beards that covered more neck than cheek. Lips all full of chaw, the whole belt-buckled get-up. It started with 2 of them. Then, by meiosis or some other scientific process that they would probably deny, they multiplied to 5. Then, they started flying flags. On one corner, their big, dumb work truck that they didn't use for work, they had fastened up a Confederate flag. On the other corner, the flag of the United States. I don't know why it bothered me. Well, there's the obvious reasons. Cue the states' rights argument people. But I think it was blatant ignorance or stupidity of the act that got me. Gets me still. I'm sure they had some explanation for flying the flag of the victor and loser of the same war at the same time, but I'm also sure it wouldn't have made sense. It's not like they were history or political science buffs. Maybe they had family in South Carolina, but so what? I have family in Ohio. Maybe they were just finding an identity. There were some things going on in the news at the time regarding the Confederate flag, though. So I think they were trying to garner some of that attention too, which, edgy. This went on for a few months. By that time, they had heard all the arguments from the AP US history students and had remained staunch in their support of a group of dead traitors from somewhere they had never been. I never actually saw them argue back, but the flags did not come down. So on my last day of school, the seniors got released earlier than everyone else. As we all walked through the parking lot to our cars to leave high school one last time, I saw it. The truck, flags flapping in the breeze. and something told me that the driver's side door would be unlocked, and I'd find exactly what I thought I would in the cup holder of that sun-bleached 90s F-250. So, I pressed in the silver button on the door handle with a click, pull, and voila. In the cup holder, my predictions were confirmed. A Gatorade bottle, one of the big ones, full of brown liquid that had a bunch of little bits peppered in it, just waiting for it. I guess if you want to act Southern, you have to chew tobacco, so you need something to spit in, but why you let it get so full is beyond me. I'm glad the owner didn't feel the need to empty it though, because I opened it up and dumped those 28 ounces of stale tobacco spit all over the fabric bench seat of his truck. I felt bad for the truck, for that big brown stain I put into its tan cloth interior. A shame, really, that such a machine, assembled by Yanks in Detroit, no doubt, had to be driven by such a dumbass. I put the cap back on the bottle and replaced it in the cup holder, shut the door, and walked back to my car. A week later, I graduated. I haven't been back to my old high school since.
But I forgot a really important shout out. Again, you can see all of the videos and the pictures we did all day. And the reason that you can see all that, I have to give a giant thanks to both Maddie and Brett for following us around all day and being able to put together a really cool clip package. So thank you guys, really. That was awesome that you guys did. So. That said, now I'll shut up and now Kim will come up and introduce absolutely everything.
Thanks, Tom. All right, next we have creative nonfiction writer Adam Matson.
Hello. When I printed this out like 10 minutes ago, this was in the tray. So if anyone like wants this, I'm gonna pass it around. If you really like it, I'll sign. This is in 3 parts, and I just finished writing it. I never really liked the texture for sheets. It was okay at first because of everything the sheets meant, but they were always just a bit uncomfortable. The way the fabric was twisted together forced the feeling into the back of my mind as I fell asleep. The thought of her eventually weaved between the lines. They became indistinguishable. I hate myself for not knowing what to do when it happened. Sandstone on glass, scratched to the point of full mental opacity. She was the first person I was ever comfortable with touching me between my armpit and waist. She loved it when I played guitar for her, so I played constantly. She would sit and watch and not move even the tiniest little bit until the song was over. I played my guitar to myself after I picked it up from her apartment for the last time. I sat at the turtle pond for a few hours. The turtles were scattered across 5 rocks in the pond, watching, waiting. I played every song I knew, and then I played them all again. I gave the turtles the best damn show of their lives, and they showed their appreciation by not moving even the tiniest little bit until the songs were over. In fact, they didn't even move after I was done. I aspired to match their piece. Too bad people aren't turtles. 2. I was alone and drunk when I found a box of wine on the ground next to a big trash bin in the alley. I lay down next to it. Actually, I fell down next to it. My face met the gravel and stayed there. Every time I moved, a few rocks would stick to my face for a moment before crumbling into the sea of stones not too far below me. The wine was half empty, or maybe you could say it was half full. I would say it had wine in it. It was the alley behind the party, surrounded by empty gluten-free pizza boxes, mini mystery brown stains, and a broken glass reflecting party lights. The whole thing felt like getting kicked out of a shitty dive bar at 3 a.m. There was a scattering of peanut shells, a bright green, crumpled up bag of Doritos Flamin' Hot Limon. The green in the bag was the kind that only appeared on the Doritos Flamin' Hot Limon bag. And nowhere else in nature. Synthetic. The wine was not mine. It had been thrown away by someone stronger than me. A half-finished night. I looked at it the way you look at someone you love next to you in bed when you know they won't love you in the morning. It took a few seconds to think about whether or not I was going to relieve the box of its final few gulps of wine. For those couple seconds, I was desperate enough to consider drinking back alley, grease-stained, STD-infested, smoked-as-a-child-looking wine. I thought about her. I thought about the turtles. I bet they're still on those 5 rocks. I didn't want to be here. I wanted to be at the turtle pond again. I wanted to stop thinking. The party was moving at the speed of time, and I was completely still, not moving even the tiniest little bit. I don't remember if I drank the wine. I don't remember how I got home. The turtles were already home. They always had been. They would never know this feeling. They don't have the ability to judge. Too bad people aren't turtles. 3. The Turtle Pond concert was 1 year ago. I wonder if the turtles remember me. I talked to the groundskeeper who managed the pond, and he told me that I could just take one of the turtles if I wanted to. This is real. I couldn't tell if he didn't like the turtles, or if he wanted to get rid of them, or if he loved them and wanted to see them spread their wings and fly into the world. I was kind of flattered he thought I'd be a good turtle dad. Regardless, I think it'd be a crime to take them from their home. They've always been there, sitting on the same 5 rocks, watching, waiting. I feel inclined to wrap everything up in a theme and have some sort of profound, conclusive final message. I want to chop up these pieces of my life and pretend that it's over. Pretend that these events are not a massive, ever-growing web of roots. No bending, no beginning or end, just a mass spectrum of experience. I want to pretend that I have a grand reason for reading today. I don't. I simply throw my set of knotted, unending experiences into the crowd in hopes that they will collect their own little pieces of meaning and experience from it. Right. I hope you see me in the same way the turtles did. I hope none of you move even the tiniest little bit until I'm done. I hope for a crowd of turtle eyes that I know I'll never have. But you're all living your own narratives, many of you entirely disconnected from mine outside of this exact moment. You may or may not love this. You will likely not treat me with the same reverence the turtles do. The turtles would love this. I might go read for them. Too bad people aren't turtles.
So we're moving on to my former student, Cam. So, I missed reading and hearing Cam's writing, so I'm really excited to hear from Cam again.
Sorry, I'm pulling it up.
Yeah, sorry.
It was unexpected. I was gonna read a piece of fiction tonight that I turned in for Bojan Lewis's class, but I wasn't able to go to the Persona reading earlier, and I'd like to read the poem that was published in this edition. And I wanted to print this out, but my work printer wasn't working. So. Okay, this piece is called Cosmic Radiation. You make me sick. I saw you one day last week. You had the same pair of glasses and a couple more tattoos. A used tote bag and some new headphones. I coughed and coughed, chasing the breath you stole from me. I felt weightless. My body a pit of crystallized stone. It was ceaseless. We were mute and dead. You were like Tom, that one guy from that one movie. We watched it, tangled up on your couch. Your hair ended where mine began, and it was like a breath of fresh, pine-filled air. We sunk into the cushions, our skin merging with, I remember, 4 legs knotted together under the blanket that I made you. The blanket that was thrown away, dead and forgotten. You didn't recognize me. You walked by, smelling like clouds and cashews. Gold hoops that I bought you for your birthday were missing, your loaves empty. We were both mute. No noise floated between us. The vacuum sucked it up along to the moon. My throat was dry with a lack of words, like tinder waiting to be ignited, expecting to grow into an impossible flame. The volume you took up, how much space you occupied, the harsh engine rumble of your decades-old Chevy, which I listened for in every parking lot, the fruit that you hated and left to rot in the back of the fridge, I bet they're still there. The socks you left at my place that I washed and kept, that song I listened to for you that's permanently in my playlist, was incredible. They're ceaseless, and with them comes a dull, pulsing ache. You walked by me at the store last week and looked at me with eyes void of recollection, and yet I still managed to see the stars in them.
All right, we have one more reader, I think. Is Brent here? Oh, awesome. Okay. And you're our last reader for the lip rock, so it's important reading. Thank you so much.
Okay. I'm very honored to be closing out the night. a bit of context. In case you guys didn't know, there's a really cute girl behind the camera, and she happens to like me back, which is pretty cool. But last summer, when all these like confusing feelings kind of came up, in what I can only describe as like a spiritual experience, I woke up in like a cold sweat at like 12:30 a.m. Opened my nose app, and this poem just sort of like poured out of me. This poem is called "Is It Too Soon to Say I Love You?" Is it too soon to say I love you? As you smile back at me from closed lips, and the intense forge of my heart burns once more. A hug that lasts both a millisecond and a lifetime. Would it be too soon? As we sit on the green grass, your head swiveling down to face me, the warmth of your glance strikes me like an Edward Hopper painting. I can't say it, but it's bursting. The thing inside the bottle fills up. I cry when I think of it. The chills sweep through each fiber of my arm. Is it too soon? The echo of your laugh that rings through the cannon makes me smile greater than a favorite birthday present. The lotto ticket of your presence, enough to buy a Brentwood mansion. Is it too soon? When I watch you grow and you see me behind you, urging you, pushing you to further ground, when we exchange glances that we're changing, is it then when we say it? Or is it silent, a simple acknowledgement, a thing unsaid yet said completely, that stifles the air, that sings its symphony so grand, it stops itself for striking a chord. We can't say it then. Or perhaps we did, but it didn't nearly mean enough. It was like tasting an unripened strawberry, something that still has to get old, still needs its color, and yet is never different. Is it too late then, when we see one another with others we know we'll forget, when we try so desperately to stop the regret? Would it mean something? Or would it mean nothing? Past the roses and cupids and butterflies, would it mean something, the literal and the figurative all at once, beyond comprehension, beyond comparison, beyond exacerbated thinking and overstimulation? Would it mean something? Oh, it means nothing and something at once, and yet that's why it means everything, why it fills every being, why the insides tear up, why they spring with cataclysmic joy. Would it be too soon or too late? No, never too soon, never too late, never too early, never too late. You see, it's a complicated thing when it goes against hate, but still its value remains, strength and weakness, but you can't defeat us. We are here, eternal, simple, and still. And if I've never said it, or if I have but I haven't meant it, or if it's stopped and you haven't kept it, if there's time to still collect it, let me say it clear, let me say it here and now, and why and how the birds, bees, trees, and cows know the words, I love you. But I don't mean it like they do, a simple sigh, a simple lie, a simple half-baked cry. I mean it in the bad and the good, the terrible and the worst. Every time it hurts, the heart burns brighter. And I deeply learn and beg to see a life where only you and me and the stars in their infinity watch us in wonder. As we dance through the cosmos and sing through the galaxy, your hand in mine, or so it was written, or so was our dream. But when my mother met you, she said she had never seen so cute a girl. And with those words, my stomach whirled because she saw something so plain, something that tugged my poor soul and drove it insane. I could never really explain that I love someone such as you, and that maybe I hoped one day you would too. A miracle so tiny, so small, yet breathing, yet tall. It's empty and it's all a text, a poem, a call. Is it too soon to say I love you?
For holding the camera so if that was me, my knees would have gone weak. Facing me anywhere. That's great. I'll say this, and certainly my colleagues in the creative writing program who are veterans of going to Medi reading know this. Something that undergrads definitely have over a lot of the professional established writers is you don't know how to keep time. Because we're way under time, so we need an open mic. If anybody wants to go up here and just like freestyle or be absolutely free, we have this set up still, and this has only been like 25 minutes. That's amazing for a live reading. So if anybody wants to go and read, you're more than welcome to. Anybody? We're gonna leave the mic right here in case anybody wants to. But in the meantime, while we're doing this, I just want to just throw this out there. Again, we mentioned this at our 2:30 reading. if anybody's interested in joining the Persona staff next year, we're always looking for more people to come be on the Persona staff. You can talk to Reese right there. If anybody's interested in joining the Creative Writing Club, you can talk to Teresa right over there. I also want to give a giant thank you to, what does it say? Ted and Kindle for putting this together. Awesome job, everybody. This is so fun. I'm so glad we got to do this for like a full entire day. Again, we're just going to leave the mic here. This is fully charged. So if anybody wants to come and grab it, you're more than welcome to. But otherwise, mingle, go talk to the people who read. As is always the case, go tell them how awesome their reading was and how awesome their work was. Trade information. The whole entire point of this is to create community, so make sure that if you don't know each other, go introduce each other and become part of that community. Awesome. Thanks, guys.